number of
Hello everyone, this is Abdul Qayyum from Beautiful Life. Abdul Qayyum.
3,285 cases.
I'm going to show you a few parts of London going towards A1 and then M1 to Birmingham, Walsall Birmingham.
Anyone from the UK arriving in Portugal will now have to quarantine for 2 weeks if they haven't had both COVID jabs.
I'm just by Highbury Corner now, Highbury Corner. Just the beginning of A1, which leads to M1, the great M1, the great north.
The weather showers mostly dying
Stay
out
with
tonight,
me, guys.
Sun persisting across southern England, cloudy in central England, but clear further north in Scotland and in Northern Ireland, a low of 9. Warm sunshine in the north again tomorrow, cloudy across central and southern areas with patchy rain or showers, a high of 21. From Global's newsroom, I'm Tim Humphrey.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Thomas Warbrick.
Just gone 4. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the show. You're listening to Tom Swarbrick in for Eddie Mayer here on LBC. Hope you find you well. Coming up,
my daughter's in year 6, and I mean, like any other parent, I'm just wishing to get to the end of term at the moment.
school pupils being forced to isolate in their droves as contacts of positive cases. Surely this rule cannot persist indefinitely. What should it change to, and by when? We'll discuss. Also,
they basically were banging hard on everybody's door saying everybody's got to get out, you've got to get out, there's a fire, you've got to get out now.
London Fire Brigade dealing with a major incident at Elephant and Castle Station. We'll bring you the latest from the scene.
Call 0345 60 60 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850. Thomas Warbrick on LBC.
Very good afternoon to you. Sajid Javid is the new Health Secretary.
I want to see the restrictions lifted and life going back to normal as quickly as possible, and that's at my right here and now. That is my absolute priority. I want to see those restrictions lifted as soon as we can, as quickly as possible. There's no going back, and that's why we want to be careful during that process, and I'll have more to say about this during my statement.
And with that, he has reportedly made waves on day one in his new department. Health officials reportedly livid about the suggestion that after July the 19th, after Freedom Day, restrictions will not come back, that they will never be needed again, that after July 19th, normality, life as we knew it, will return. That is, of course, music to the ears of protesters who marched in their thousands through London at the weekend. Took to the streets to demand the end of lockdown restrictions, and it seems that in Sajid Javid they may have a health secretary with that view. What is meant by restrictions? Today, Portugal and Spain are requiring Brits to quarantine on arrival unless they show they have had 2 vaccines. What is that if not a restriction? After July 19th, will isolation for close contacts be dropped? I think it should be, but it can only really be dropped if people get tested and test negative. Is that not a restriction? Are we really suggesting that after July 19th, people who test positive will not be required to isolate? I wonder how you would feel if that restriction were to be dropped. If it is going to be dropped, is it right to say in the middle of summer that restrictions, once dropped, will not return? Or would it be more circumspect, would it be more accurate to wonder whether it might have to, particularly during winter and the booster jab rollout? 0345 60973. Javid says that once restrictions are done, they won't come back. Is that music to your ears, or is it a promise he can't keep? 0345 6060973. Our Westminster correspondent is Ben Kentish, who joins me live in the studio. How many feathers has Sajid Javid ruffled at the Department of Health with those comments?
Well, not just the Department of Health, Tom, other scientists too, saying this is simply something you cannot guarantee. Now, yes, Sajid Javid may have some confidence in saying that this is going to be irreversible in the short term, but what we've heard from very prominent scientists, even people like Chris Whitty and Patrick Vallance, is come the autumn, come the winter, when we have to deal with the normal flu pandemic, when flu outbreak, when the NHS is under pressure, and when COVID cases are expected to spike once again, there may need to be some restrictions imposed. Now, nobody really thinks that means more lockdowns, but it may mean certain measures. It may mean making masks compulsory again in certain areas or certain settings. Those are the sorts of things. I don't think we're talking about shutting down schools and shops, but for the new health secretary to immediately say this is going to be irreversible, once it's still so uncertain, yes, a lot of factors have been ruffled today.
Is that an indication, and I guess we'll hear from Sajid Javid a little bit later in the House of Commons, where he's due to be giving a statement, possibly in about an hour's time, half an hour's time, we'll wait and see. Are we going to hear more from Sajid Javid about what is meant by restrictions and what life will look like on July the 20th?
That is certainly the hope, yes. I would think even if he doesn't address that directly, we should get a hint, and certainly Tom, Conservative MPs and others will be asking the new health secretary those questions. His answers to those are almost going to be the most interesting thing he says. I think we can pretty confidently say, well, I'm not going to be lifting those restrictions on July the 5th. And Sajid Javid, as Boris Johnson said today, likely to be pretty confident that they will be lifted later, July the 19th. But yes, as you say, the questions that remain are, what does lifting those restrictions mean? You will have Conservative backbenchers saying, well, will there need to be testing for events? Will masks need to be compulsory in certain settings? These are the sorts of things. Will people need to isolate if they get a cough? These are the kind of questions that will be asked. I think he will not want to give too much away, but we will, yes, get hints, we will get answers to those questions. His tone's going to be really interesting, Tom, because he's clearly very consciously gone out and tried to draw a dividing line between him and his predecessor by talking a lot more than Matt Hancock did about his desperation, really, to lift restrictions. I do wonder, it's quite easy to say that when you're outside the Department of Health. It's quite easy to say when you've just started the role. Once you've had a few meetings, you've had a few weeks of Chris Whitty and Patrick Vallance and other officials saying to you, these are the risks, these are the data, if you do this, it will have this consequence for the NHS. I do wonder if his tone will become a little bit more nuanced as the weeks go on.
And on his predecessor, what have we heard about how it was that Matt Hancock came to resign on Saturday evening and that process that went on behind the scenes? I know the Prime Minister's been talking today.
Huge questions today about whether Matt Hancock resigned or whether Boris Johnson sacked him, Tom. The confusion sparked by Boris Johnson seeming to suggest that he had sacked him. Have a listen.
I read the story on Friday, and by Saturday we had a new Secretary of State for Health, and I think that's about the right pace to do things, given that we've got a national pandemic. And I've had a good conversation with a long conversation with Sajid Javid yesterday, in which we had a very careful look at the data with colleagues, and we assessed where we were. Today's a very important day. Today is June the 28th. And as you know, this is the moment when we could conceivably go forward at an accelerated pace to open up on July the 5th. And Sajid will be setting out in the House of Commons a bit later on exactly where we are. But at the moment, you know, there are pluses and minuses. There's a mixture in the data. So that deaths and hospitalizations continue to be low, though those numbers are going up a little bit, I'm sorry to say. Cases are rising more steeply. But it is absolutely clear from the data that we continue to break the link between infection and serious illness and death. It's a crucial thing. That was the thing, if you remember back a few weeks ago, that was the thing we were looking at most carefully.
Key phrase there, Tom. I saw the story on Friday. On Saturday, we had a new health secretary. You tell me, but that has been widely interpreted as Boris Johnson suggesting that he sacked Matt Hancock. Not so, according to, well, Boris Johnson's own spokesman. Asked if that had been the case, he said no. The Prime Minister and the now former Health Secretary, quote, discussed the issue further on Saturday, and, quote, the Prime Minister agreed with the former Health Secretary that it was right for him to offer his resignation. Now, you might think, well, that sounds pretty straightforward, but, of course, you will remember, Tom, just over 24 hours earlier on Friday, a number 10 spokesman said this: the Prime Minister has accepted the Health Secretary's apology and considers the matter closed. What changed between that statement and Saturday? Was it that he'd heard from the victims' families? Was it political pressure? Was it simply a change of the Prime Minister's mind? Number 10 wouldn't say.
It does mean, though, that the Prime Minister is trying to rewrite the narrative here, because I read the same Sunday papers that you read, and there were source quotes from Downing Street saying absolutely this was 100% Matt Hancock's decision to go.
Yes, and that was what number 10 spokesman seemed to say.
What a lovely old car, really vintage.
You just heard. There's always a bit of doubt, isn't there, Tom, about how much that Hancock was lent on, but the very firm answer from Boris Johnson's spokesman was
only
that this
one-seater,
was
I
Matt
think.
Hancock's
I just
decision.
saw a
He went to the
one-seater
Prime
car.
Minister, and the key bit here is then, on the Saturday, the
I
Prime
think
Minister
it's
agreed
more
he should
than
go,
my
having
age.
previously
Probably
said that the matter was
50
closed and Matt
more than
Hancock should
50
stay on.
years
And this
old.
matters because Boris Johnson has done this before, in that when someone in his team, in the last case Dominic Cummings, was found to have breached social distancing guidelines, the Prime Minister very publicly stood by him, a decision which had a brief impact on the polling but certainly blew up public trust, and he did the same on Friday, and seems to be, from what I've heard, Ben, and from what you've been telling us, seems to be trying to row that back on the understanding that he got it wrong again.
Yes, I think that's a fair interpretation, Tom. Whether the number 10 saw the huge outrage that we had all on LBC and elsewhere, of course, very publicly on Friday, is one question. However, they're not stupid. These are clever people. They would have known what the public how they would react to that story. They would have known there was going to be a huge backlash, a huge uproar. Maybe the severity of it slightly took them by surprise. I don't think it did. I think this was Boris Johnson not wanting, once again, to give in to what some sources have suggested he sees as a sort of media concocted row, the mob calling for Matt Hancock's resignation. But then the key question, what changed? And the answer seems to be it was Matt Hancock's mind that changed, not Boris Johnson's, whether that was because of family reasons, whether that was because he was being told, as some reports suggest, by his own MPs and fellow ministers that he had to go, partly, Tom, some might say, in order to potentially resurrect his cabinet career down the line. Who is to say? But it is seeming quite clear as time goes on that this decision and this change in strategy, this change of mind, was Matt Hancock's, not Boris Johnson.
Thank you, LBC's Westminster correspondent Ben Kentish. I do watch into this conversation about restrictions. I do wonder what you make of what Boris Johnson has said today about the to and fro of what happened over the course of the weekend to Matt Hancock. What seems to me to be straight up revisionism of what actually happened, in that we were told on Sunday that this was a decision of Matt Hancock's and Matt Hancock's alone. He decided to go on the basis he couldn't carry on because Boris Johnson wouldn't have minded him carrying on. As number 10 had said on Friday, they considered the matter closed, whereas today the Prime Minister is saying, nope, saw the story on Friday, you'd been gone by Saturday. Well, you got it wrong again, didn't you? And on this issue of the new Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, saying that restrictions will not need to come back on once they are dropped, first of all, what do you feel is meant by restriction? For example, if you are told after July 19th that you have to, by law, isolate if you test positive, if you've got it, is that a restriction too far? If you marched through London on Saturday in hope to see all restrictions removed as soon as possible, would any restriction, even one that I think sounds sensible like that, would any restriction staying in place after July 19th be unfair and unhelpful? Would you turn your nose up at it, spurn it, in order to carry on and get back to normality? Is it a promise that the new Health Secretary can keep, to say once they're gone, they won't come back? The answer to me is straightforward. He can't. 0345 6060973. Come to your calls in just a moment. Tom Strawbridge here, 4:15. You said
A fire and explosion at Elephant and Castle Railway Station in South London has forced people from their homes. Boris Johnson says ministers are looking at ways of avoiding whole classes having to self-isolate if one pupil tests positive for COVID. The UK has recorded 22,868 new cases of coronavirus, the highest daily figure since January the 30th. The weather showers mostly dying out tonight, but some persisting across southern England. Cloudy in central England, but clearer further north in Scotland and in Northern Ireland, a low of 9.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and due to the large fire in Elephant and Castle, Kent Road is shut between the A3 and the A2. The bricklayers aren't in both directions. Thameslink trains remain suspended from Elephant and Castle to Blackfriars. Elephant and Castle tube station is exit only. You're being advised to avoid the whole area. Of course, we'll keep you up to date throughout the afternoon and evening. The M25 is slow, anti-clockwise from Swanley at 3 to a broken down car on the exit slip at 2 for the A2. It's then slow both ways to 23. There's an accident on the South Mims roundabout. North Chingford and emergency repairs are causing queues on Station Road towards the train station, and in Edgware, Watling Avenue is blocked near Burntoke Broadway with an accident. Finally, for the tube, other than the problems at Elephant and Castle, there are severe delays on the Circle Line and minor delays on the Hammersmith and City Line.
This is LBC.
Since a top celebrity was seen in one of Maya's dresses last month, the online orders have been flying in.
I need a logistics manager, like yesterday.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on hiring the person you need to help your business grow. If you're ready for Indeed to help your business get back to hiring, simply visit Indeed.com/try today. That's Indeed.com/try today.
This is LBC. Ian Dale, Monday to Thursday from 7.
That's not what this article's about. Read the article before you comment on something. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? When people comment on something that they haven't even bothered to read. Because I suspect he would be able to sign up to probably 98% of it, and yet then indulges in a bit of whataboutery. But I'm sure none of our callers are going to do that.
Ian Dale on LBC.
With Purple Bricks, book your free in-home or virtual valuation.
Last week, Chris, a plumber, unblocked 5 drains, fitted 2 new boilers, paid 3 staff, rescued a phone from a loo, and a customer from a dripping tap of doom. You work hard, so AXA make it easier for you to tailor your policy so you always have the right protection. Work hard, insure easy. Search AXA Business Insurance. AXA, know you can. AXA Insurance UK PLC is authorised and regulated by the Prudential Regulation Authority and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
Right now at TalkTalk, you get super fast fibre broadband with average speeds of 67 megabits per second. And hang on, you also get free unlimited calls to UK mobiles and landlines. Oh, hold on. There's online security too. And 24/7 online support, all for just £25 a month. Okay, you can...
Hello guys, this is Holloway Road and I'm going only 20 miles speed because that's the limit. It's really funny, 20 miles on a big road and the side roads are 30 miles. Is that a real concern for safety for the public road users? I believe major roads should be 30 miles at least later in the evening, during the nights. Oops. And the side roads should be 30 miles or less, 24 hours a day.
2-for-1 glasses from £69. Book an appointment or find out more at specsavers.co.uk. Conditions and exclusions apply.
Hello, Dave. Yeah, great. You sound it. You in the warehouse today, mate? Yeah, go for it. You ought to get that cough check first. Probably just say fever.
Don't dismiss mild symptoms of COVID-19. They can be dangerous. If not for you, then for someone else. Don't wait. Don't guess. Get a test. Order one NHS COVID-19 app.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
With Sage, powering local businesses to
The Seven Sisters Road, just coming towards Nag's Head M1 or A1, Holloway Road, Nag's Head. If we turn right, the Seven Sisters Road, but I'm not turning right, I'm going towards Birmingham, Walsall.
Companies or just everybody else. So it's not going to be the government that introduces those measures. It will be, I don't know, the nightclub or the restaurant or the stadium. Whatever it will be that will try and put in protections to stop a huge number of cases from spreading around the place. I see, by the way, that the case numbers in the last 24 hours are now at 22.
The Odeon in Holloway Road.
68. That is the highest
We're just passing by.
30th of January. Worth saying too though that there are 3 deaths that have been reported, so the link between cases and deaths seems to have been cut. The link between cases and hospitalisation seems to have been, if not cut, then severely damaged and diminished, which is a good thing. But the idea that we move with 22,000 cases from the restrictions we currently have to to nothing at all doesn't feel right, does it? I don't think people would be happy about that. Can you imagine turning up to Wembley Stadium packed without knowing that everyone in there had either tested negative or been double jabbed? I just don't think it's going to happen. 0345 6060973. If you went on the march through London at the weekend, do you expect all restrictions to come off on July 19th? And high-fiving about the place at what Sajid Javid has had to say, which is, in his view, once they're gone, they'll never come back. Is that the right position to have? 0345 6060973. Dr. Shikta Das is an epidemiologist and honorary lecturer at University College London, speaking in a personal capacity himself. Thank you for coming on, Doctor. With 22,868 new COVID cases reported today, what should happen on July 20th, do you think?
Thank you so much for inviting me. And absolutely, the infection levels are rising dramatically, as you just mentioned. 23,000 cases, that's quite a few numbers, you know. These are in fact the same numbers which we saw during September and October last year. We have a highly transmissible variant at the moment. It's accounting for 99% of the new COVID cases. What we really don't want to see is this kind of increase, steady increase, which keeps happening week by week in the figures and data which is showing that. And at the moment, what we really observe is COVID is running in the younger population. The R number, which is basically the average number of people infected which pass on the disease, is around 1.2 to 1.4 with regional variation. I mean, we know vaccines are highly effective. There's no denying the fact. And we know it is preventing death and serious illnesses and the onward transmission of the virus. We have very good numbers at the moment. The government was trying to achieve 80% vaccination of first dose by 19th of July. And I'm very much concerned, share the same concerns about opening up on 19 as everybody else and the economy recovery. But I just don't think, it would be possible, as you just mentioned as well. It just seems like we need to strike a balance at this stage. And by opening this on the 19th, what we are really sending a message is encouraging this vulnerable population to keep restricting while we are suggesting that the young can go back to their pre-pandemic lives, which might not be a very good messaging.
But messaging aside, this is about what people are able to do in their lives, which is, I think, probably more important than messaging. If lots of people are not ending up in hospital, which they aren't, why the need for restrictions that are as severe as they are at the moment, let alone anything greater?
We do see a rise in the hospitalization as well of the younger population. It is steady. It is not similar. We can't really compare with the data we have.
But is now the aim to stop anybody from ending up in hospital who has COVID?
It's not just stopping them from going to the hospital, but we really have to look wider. We have to look at the NHS burden as well. What we really don't want is, having a huge backlog of people. We know that the waiting times of NHS treatment is huge at the moment, and any wrong step at this stage might make this wait even longer. What we are trying to do here is to keep a careful eye, and there's nothing wrong at this moment.
But the NHS surely should be, with the numbers in hospital at the moment, the NHS should be coping with that, shouldn't it? I mean, I realise it's a very difficult time and there's lots of stresses on them.
I think we are at the start of it, Tom. It's very difficult to say what we see from the previous. We are in a new situation where we have a completely new deadly Delta variant. We can't really make assumptions about it unless we have the full data. And obviously, the data is retrospectively available, But what we really see is that we are not factoring about these Delta variant. We have to make sense of the account that, what we know about it at the moment. There should be more graduated approach towards opening the society.
So what should happen, in your view, Dr. Das, what should happen on July 19th?
I think we should continue to follow some of the handfuls of curves, for a few more weeks before we have most of the adults double vaccinated. We should maintain the mask mandate indoors for a little longer. We should make sure that the test and trace system is very good. The good hygiene routine, which we have been following for the last 18 months, continue. Remote working continues. Most importantly, ventilation should be, introduced. further in indoor
And why
settings.
for a few weeks?
I think what we are really looking forward to is 2 vaccination double doses for most adult population. That's what we are really
But we're going to have
for.
60%, 66% of the adult population double dosed by the 19th of July, we're told. Is that not enough?
No, we are hoping to have 80%. WHO has said that they have provided evidence towards getting 80 to 85% adult population with 2 doses to curb this pandemic, and that's what we are aiming for. And
So we now need to get we now need to get to 85% by July the 19th, because Nadeem Zahawi, the vaccines minister, was on the programme only the other day saying they want to get to 66%. So we're way off.
Well, that's what has been recommended by WHO, and any closer towards that target is something what we should be looking forward to, and then we should be able to make good decisions about opening up. And that's what, as a scientist, I can recommend that we should be looking at somewhere around the 80% figure.
And what would that do to hospitalisations? That would kibosh hospitalisations even further, allowing the NHS less pressure on the NHS.
Absolutely, yes. We need to reduce the burden. We have to be mindful of NHS. We know it is going through a bad phase with the previous pandemic and the first and second waves itself, And
what about reducing the pressure on businesses? What about reducing the pressure on schools? We've seen huge numbers of school children have to isolate by being a contact of someone who's tested positive. That, under this plan, would continue for another few weeks or until we reach 85% of the adult population double jab.
I think, Tom, that's a good question, and the problem here is that we don't really have a very good, again, messaging as well as concerns about when to isolate in schools and who is isolating in schools. These are the questions which our new health minister should be answering in the next couple of weeks. I think I share the concerns you have as well about the economic recovery, but I think we have to take these steps in more scientific way. What we really don't want is a restricted society. We don't want further lockdowns. We just need to learn to be cautious, and we need to understand this infection process better. We see that children are transmitting to adults, in not just in multi-generational household, but also most of the secondary school kids seem to be having high numbers of cases as well.
But again, they're not ending up in hospital. And if this is about protecting the NHS is much, much better protected than it has ever been from COVID by the vaccination rollout. And a lot of people will feel like we've never had a target set by anybody really of saying, right, we need to reach this proportion of the population to have both vaccine doses and then we can move out. Minister says 66%, World Health Organization say 85%. All of that massively impacts on the ability of kids to get a proper education, of businesses to be able to open up fully, and on society to be able to be back to normal.
I think we have to look just beyond hospitalization numbers. What we don't want is even these young population having potential long COVID symptoms.
No, I'm sorry, Dr. Dad. I don't want anybody to get long COVID. I don't want anybody to be seriously unwell. I don't want me to be, you to be, I don't want my children to be, your children. I don't want anyone to get seriously ill. But we do not restrict society's freedoms on the premise that some people will unfortunately become unwell.
Absolutely, nobody would want to restrict the society further, but we do live in a pandemic time, and what we have seen from our experience from previous pandemic is we have to learn to be cautious, we have to understand the infection process better, we have to act before the virus acts, and this is what will lead us towards least disrupting our lives and minimizing the risk of infection without going through.
Sorry guys, I just realized the shadows of my phone holder,
is to make sure that
so I had to move it.
We have 80% of vaccination in the adult population to stop this curve any further.
Okay, Dr. Shitazaz, good to have your time. Thank you very much. You're an epidemiologist, honorary lecturer at University College
Hope
London.
it's okay now.
Speaking to us in a personal capacity this afternoon. 03456060973 is the number. 84850 to text. You can tweet at LBC. I wonder what you've made of what the doctor has described to us there. We now need 85% of the population double jabbed. Who knows how long that's going to take? Even if we can reach 85% of the population double jab, it's going to take another few weeks. So the restrictions continue because not only do we need to protect the NHS, we need to stop people from getting long COVID. That's, my views. Come to yours in just a moment. Tom Swarbrick here, 4:31. News headlines now. Tim Humphrey.
Around 100 firefighters have been called to a major online showing a big explosion. A member of the public and a police officer have been treated for the effects of breathing in smoke. Boris Johnson says ministers are looking at ways of changing the rules around self-isolation in schools in England. Experts and teaching unions say it's no longer necessary to send large groups of children home if there's just one positive coronavirus case. The UK has recorded 22,868 new cases of COVID-19, the highest daily figure since January 30th. Small businesses fear running out of support on Thursday when several COVID support measures are due to start winding down. The Federation of Small Businesses is asking the government to bridge that gap as many aren't able to fully reopen until the 19th of next month. The weather, showers mostly dying out tonight, but sun will persist across southern England. Cloudy in central England, but it will be clear further north in England, in Scotland and in Northern Ireland, a low of 9.
LBC, Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7.
Whitehall Security ran after Hancock Bleak. Calls to review security across Whitehall demand MPs. Why? I think we should put more cameras in. Yes. You go to work to do your work, so how dare they complain about security? We're paying them to work, put cameras in all their cars and not their bedrooms, and the minute they get up, let's just have them on film and see how much work they do.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. Listen live on Global Player, LBC.
I'm Dr. Helen and I'm a GP. It's great that life's getting back to normal, but COVID still hasn't gone away. And we all know that catching it can be serious. If not for you, then for someone else. So if you're feeling unwell, or you can't taste or smell your food, or you have a cough that won't stop, please don't ignore it. Don't wait, don't guess, get a test today. Order one online at nhs.uk/get tested, or use the NHS COVID-19 app.
So I called me mate Tom and I said, I'm waiting for my Chinese to be delivered, what are you up to? And he said, I'm waiting for my car to be delivered from Cinch. I said, oh, Cinch? And he said, yeah, Cinch. Like you said, Cinch lets you buy a quality check used car online with a 14-day money-back guarantee. And I said, delivery included, right in your door, yeah? Oh, speak of the devil, that's my lemon pepper chicken. And he said, nah, that's my tasty motor. You're in the driving seat now, Britain. Cinch, cars without the faff. UK mainland delivery only, T's and C's apply.
It's hard to imagine. It's already been over a year since COVID entered our lives, changing the way we live and affecting all of us and our families in so many ways. If your marriage has become strained during this time and there's no hope of saving it, Cordell & Cordell is ready to help with experienced divorce solicitors for family law advice and dedicated legal help. Visit cordellcordell.co.uk today.
So COVID-19 is also causing marriages to have problem in it.
Attention please. Here's something I bet you didn't know. Not all supplements are created equal. You see, in Healthspan we only use vitamin D3, which absorbs into your body more efficiently. Our Optiflex glucosamine contains 40% more pure glucosamine than standard glucosamine sulfate. And our Opti-Turmeric absorbs 7 times faster than our standard turmeric. What a hard-working bunch. Well, that is the Healthspan way. We're healthspan.co.uk. Vitamins and supplements in store and direct to your door. Find the credit card you'll be looking for. Quick trip on the back to score. If it's a yes, no need to guess with With a credit limit up to £1,500.
M1,
Check if you're
the movie.
credit card. It only takes a minute. Intelligent Lending Limited is a credit broker. Capital One, the exclusive lender. Representative 39.9% APR variable. No annual fee.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
With Sage, pay your people accurately, quickly and on time.
More details about the fire in Elephant and Castle just around the station in a few moments' time. First, Ben's in Bristol. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Tom. How are you? Yeah, so on these restrictions, I found out today my parents live in Portugal, and obviously Portugal's just put in new rules. I mean, that those who are not double jabbed cannot travel there at all, and there is no wiggle room there at all, otherwise it's 14-day quarantine. So when we're talking about, continuing restrictions and things like that, it feels that this particular policy is discriminatory against young people, and I personally, to be honest, am starting to lose patience with these restrictions, and I've always been a vociferous supporter of lockdown. But what the epidemiologists were saying just before about potentially needing to extend the restrictions and things like that, and only having things for double jabbed people maybe, it feels like there isn't actually a plan to get out of this. And And it's really it's really worrying me, to be entirely honest.
And you have hit upon something that we've been talking about for some weeks now, which is what exactly is it going to look like between July the 20th and, say, Christmas this year? And to my mind, there is no way in which the government can remove absolutely everything and we go back to normal, not least because, as you've described, other countries are going to be saying you can't come in unless you've been double jabbed or whatever. The only way in which the Crucible and Wembley and these nightclubs have been able to get up and running is for people who go to them have had to show that they tested negative before the event. So with those things having no social distancing, that's the only way we know how to do it. We test the first part of a big music festival is a restriction. Whether it's something you know.
For me personally, these tests are widely and accessible to absolutely everyone. It's not a restriction if we still can you can't go X, Y, Z or whatever it may be. There are rules and regulations about insurance.
Talks about restrictions, and subject matter talks about restrictions, he says restrictions are going to come. I wonder whether they mean
The parcels are all Moorish mozzarella pearls with pesto. That's so assorted. That's Asda price. Selected Asda stores on that.
Unless you've been vaccinated. I think that is particularly problematic. I mean, I'm not an anti-vax person at all. In fact, I'm completely the opposite. You should absolutely get the vaccine. But I worry about sort of policies for double-vax people or policies that,
I agree, it discriminates, but then I think discrimination in and of itself is not always a terrible thing. Discrimination happens all the time. It's whether that discrimination is unfair. People already discriminate against people from being able to go to a certain function because they have a particular gender. So thank you very much indeed for your help. Tom, you should have pointed out to the highly experienced and respected doctor and scientist that you are actually...
just fixing my phone holder. This is Archway Road now. Just going towards Great M1. So I should call this Great A1. Great A1. Because M1 follows. So this one should be Great A1.
Country.
just to make the race more resilient and to make the race give it the best possible chance. It'll take something really dramatic in terms of the pandemic in order for them to stop the event. So I'm really looking forward to it. If I was training for it, I would keep training. If I was fundraising for it, I would keep fundraising.
Officials say there will be staggered start times, and whatever the rules are at the time, they're confident that they'll be able to follow them.
On Saturday afternoon in London. It was not tens of thousands, it was hundreds of thousands. Tens of thousands this week over the
Sorry, the reception of my radio aerial is so bad, so poor. Even in town or countryside, it's so bad.
Monday afternoon, you know, you instantly clock a couple together and you just think, oh, they're a good couple, aren't they? Sometimes you don't even have to know them or see them before, you just clock them. Yeah, they're a good couple. Leanne Pinnock, Andre Gray, looking at you, you are that couple right there. Loving the social media pictures all over Leanne's Insta over the weekend of Andre's 30th birthday. Things we love to see. Just that positivity.
What's happening? Things that, you know, I was like looking back through old episodes.
For the memes.
I'm going to have 5 minutes of television fame, and
Edith, if you know one thing about the internet, it's that it loves cats. This was never going to look good, no matter how long ago it was. Emily has... Leave the EU, so we went part of Europe.
Which would mean like welfare and like things we trade with would be cut down.
so does that mean we won't have any cheese?
Like, the smile on my face now, I could leave now and walk home and be like, get it on the telly now. I can't wait. What's she on about?
No, I mean, she's not, to be fair, she's not, it's not really explained to her very well, is it? It's just like stuff we trade with and what we cut and stuff.
About trees though. I do have another Hayley clip here, because she was the gift that kept on giving, but not for too long, we needed her a bit longer.
There's someone that I guess is like very moving to see past the surface.
Oh yeah.
And someone who can get deeper and
Obsessed.
I love talking.
What's superficial? I mean, I love her.
And then have we got the classic Curtis?
Oh, of course we do.
So this actually, it's like it's one of the greatest moments, but it's also it's really horrible as well. Obviously, he's heartbroken that
getting crowded.
Walworth and Kennington as traffic diverts away from Elephant and Castle. You're being advised to avoid the whole area. The M25 is slow anti-clockwise from Swanley at 3 to a broken down car on the exit step at junction 2 for the A2. It's heading both ways towards 23 for South Mews as there's an accident on the South Mews roundabout. In the centre of town, queues on Charing Cross Road to the traffic lights that have gone out at the junction with New Oxford Street and on the tube. Apart from the problems at Elephant and Castle, the Circle Line has severe delays and there are minor delays on the Hammersmith City Line.
This is LBC. Little Red Riding Hood has been trying to sell her grandma's home for some time now, but the estate agent's shining sharp teeth have left her with sweat on her brow. Oh, trust me, darling, I just want what's best for you. Hence the added phrase. However, she spoke to the friendly team at Property Rescue, who cut out the middleman, and guaranteed us.
The UK's most awaited summer intensive is ending half of the lot. The Bhavan Summer School 2021 is happening between the 12th of July and 1st of August. In this 3-week intensive taught by the renowned resident gurus of the Bhavan.
And we now know that
And professionals.
fire or any smoke at the moment. The fire crews are going to be on site here for quite some time. A number of that was yet damping down. So this road and this area, this roundabout, won't be open for some hours yet. So you really must avoid the area. Now I managed to come on the tube, and some of the exits of the station are open. Others are not due to flooding, and I presume that's because of the fire hoses that have been pumping massive amounts of gallons of water into the fire, which is just near to one of the tube station exits. There are lots of them here at Elephant and Castle. So yes, it's a tricky area, and it's definitely an avoid if you can area. Just to say also, Joe, that there were some evacuations. One building was evacuated. A lot of people live around here. That's the thing. Those ladies that you heard there, they live around here, but fortunately they were on the other side.
evacuated, and we'll find out in the coming hours what's going to happen to them and whether they'll be allowed to go back home or not anytime soon.
Anna O'Neill reporting there from the roundabout at Elephant and Castle. Many of you emailing, hoping to head home. As you will have heard, the tube is open, not all exits are open, but some of the areas cordoned off, which may mean you will not be able to get back into your own home. But we will keep you up to date. Anna reporting into Eddie on Drive at 5 straight after my show.
Whoa, that was dangerous. The motorcycle just done a red light.
Which is Friday's Euromeet.
Is the okay one?
Happened, and it was a big fireball. There's a big fireball coming out of the building up with the black fumes, obviously.
I was actually working from my desk, and Paula rings me. She says there's a big fire outside your place, and I said whereabouts? And I could hear all the cracking and popping. I'm just used to lots of noise all the time, so I didn't think nothing of it. And I went out onto the balcony. The whole area was covered in flames, just heavy black smoke. So I went round and had a look. I said, I'm coming down. So you're in one of those buildings right beside it.
No, he's in the one just behind you.
And so have you been evacuated? Yeah, basically because I'm on the 17th floor. They came around and they basically banging hard on everybody's door saying everybody's got to get out. You've got to get out. There's a fire.
London Ambulance Service on confirmed they treated 6 people at the scene and they took none of them to hospital, and that is reportedly, although not confirmed by the ambulance service, for smoke inhalation. But one eyewitness told me, this is not confirmed again by the authorities yet, that the fire appears to have broken out in a commercial unit, perhaps a cargo unit. The carriage was at Elephant Castle Station, and this person told me that the reason perhaps we didn't see more people injured or taken to hospital is that the staff in that garage happened to be on their lunch break at the time the fire broke out. So there's an extraordinary stroke of good fortune. But as I say, those road closures still in place. The station is going to be closed, police here say, at least for the next 24 hours, and there are still dozens, hundreds of people standing around evacuated from their homes, and as far as they know, no sign of when they're going to be getting back in. Okay, Matthew, thank you. LBC senior reporter down at Elephant and Castle, Matthew Thompson. Alan's in Chesterfield. Hi, Alan.
Hiya. It's just about the link between case numbers and hospitalisations. If you look on the government website, the healthcare section says there's 227 people in the hospital. But when you click into it, it's not the date of the week. That's the figures up to the 22nd of June.
Well, the next slide for Alan, for the 24th of June, this is across the whole of the UK. It's 1,505 people in hospital with coronavirus, 257 on ICU.
If you're looking at that, are you looking at that on the UGO site?
That's from the government's dashboard.
Yeah. I'm looking at the figures of patients admitted. If you look on healthcare patients admitted, it says the daily number of COVID-19 patients in hospital reported on the day 22nd of June. There's been no update since then.
Well, listen, Alan, we can bandy figures at one another. It is definitely the case that there are not as many people in hospital with 22,000 cases rolling around now as there were back when we didn't get vaccinated, which is the whole point of the vaccine programme and why it's been so successful. Just want to pause there. Just want to go live to the House of Commons now. now with the new Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, is on his feet. Let's take a listen.
Part in helping to meet the greatest public health challenge our country has ever faced. So I'm especially proud of Mr. Deputy.
Hello guys, we are in M1 now, the Great M1, Great North. I'm heading towards Great North, Birmingham, Walsall from London, and I'm exactly on M1 now, just 1 minute ago.
St. Thomas's Hospital, where I met doctors and nurses and volunteers who have moved mountains this past year.
I'm not going to answer my call.
I pledge to do everything I can to deliver for them and the people of this country. I look forward to working with colleagues on all sides of the House as we together work on this vital mission. We are making phenomenal progress with our vaccination program. Vaccination is now open to every adult in the country. 85% of adults have got a jab and 61% of adults have had 2 doses. This progress has allowed us to safely take those first 3 steps out of the lockdown and on towards greater freedoms that we can enjoy today. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, at this 2-week review point, I want to update the House on our progress to our roadmap to freedom. Mr. Deputy Speaker, our aim is that around 2/3 of all adults in this country will have had both doses by 19th July. We're bringing forward second doses and bringing forward our target for first doses too, so we can meet that 19th July goal. Vaccine uptake remains sky high. We've seen that age is no barrier for enthusiasm for getting the jab. As of this weekend, more than half of adults under 30 have taken up the chance to be vaccinated, including in the last couple of weeks all 3 of my children. Our vaccines are working, including against the Delta variant. The latest modelling from Public Health England shows that they have saved over 27,000 lives and have prevented over 7 million people from getting COVID-19. Now we do know that after a single dose of vaccine, the effectiveness is lower against the new Delta variant and around a 33% reduction in symptomatic disease. But 2 doses of the vaccine are just as effective against hospital admission with the Delta variant compared to the Alpha variant. The jabs are making a difference with us too. In January, people over 65 who were vaccinated earlier in our program made up the vast majority of hospital admissions. The latest data shows that that group makes up less than a third. So while cases now are ticking up, the number of deaths remains mercifully low. We will continue to investigate how vaccines are breaking that link between cases, hospitalizations, and deaths.
On the House of Commons. He was challenged in the air by Ferran Torres, and I think he's received a blow to his ear or maybe the back of the head, and he is down. But Croatia 0, Spain 0, strong start for Spain, is he?
Indeed, yeah. He's just saying he was elbowed there, but Ferran Torres coming in at that back post, he just wants it more. He's risen higher. He's managed to get the ball knocked down onto that penalty area, and Koke, the ball's just behind him and it's bouncing, but it's one of those as a midfielder that if it bounces correctly for you, it's just an exciting one to strike.
So there was some athletic leap by Ferran Torres, and as he describes, it was his elbow hit the back of the head of the defender Guardiola, but the evidence that Guardiola was already jumping, the fact that Torres, it was his elbow which was down by his side hit him, shows he was head, shoulders and more above his opponent as they jumped for it. Croatia 0, Spain 0, still the early stages of the Parken Stadium in Copenhagen as these sides feel each other out, but Croatia haven't put two passes together in the game yet, is he?
No, really struggling to gain a bit of momentum. I thought as soon as they took the kick off Croatia, they went long, and you could see what they were trying to do. They were trying to squeeze space and then get into that formation where they seem to be happy banking up and letting Spain come onto them and then dealing with it.
Still don't really know what Spain we have at these tournaments. They planned to deceive in the opening two games. They hit 5 against Slovakia last time out. I think it very much sums up Spain's performance at this tournament that their top scorer so far is own goals. 2 of the 6 goals they've scored have been own goals. No Spaniard has scored more than once in the tournament. Here comes Nikola Vlasic, tried to attack down the right-hand side, but Guy has done a really good job on him for Spain. They are bossing things at the moment. Morata shifts it on through midfield. Koke, short for Pedri, the wonder kid, the Barcelona player who played more games in La Liga this past season than any other Barcelona player, and that's some doing when you're only 18. He was only 17 at the start of the season. Spain have got possession. Emerick Laporte allowed to steal deep into Croatia territory. Koke has it to Azpilicueta, Champions League lifting captain with Chelsea this season. Now Ferran Torres skips inside of Kovacic and is taken down by Brozovic, and those two do a number on it again. Free kick to Croatia.
Yeah, and that's the second cynical foul from Brozovic so far in this game. We're looking how long in? 10 minutes in, if that. And yeah, he's already treading on thin ice, but really, really good play again on this right-hand side for Spain with Torres and Koke combining and looking to switch, and they need a better delivery off this subsequent free kick.
Busquets has made his way forward for this one of the taller Spaniards. Koke delivers it in, flicked on header by Azpilicueta, was always leaning away from the goal as he flicked on. He's never scored an international goal, says Azpilicueta, and he wasn't troubling Lovakovic with that one.
Now they've opted for that right-footed out-swinging delivery instead of Sarabia's in-swinging delivery on that left-hand side. Azpilicueta, for me, he knows that he's too far out there to head that in, the height that the ball's arrived at him. And for me, it's just a flick on for somebody else going in at the back post.
I'm sure you played in games like this from a Croatia point of view, where you feel you've hardly had a kick so far. We've played 9 minutes. You know, is there a relief
okay, look, we've been overwhelmed, but we haven't conceded, this is going to turn? Or at what stage do you begin to think, hang on a minute, how are we going to get into this game?
Difficult, because when the Spaniards are dominating possession so early on, it's really difficult. You have to remain really, really calm in the head and trust in the plan and trust in the processes. And one of the most integral things at this stage is communication. Who's dealing with who? And then you move into the game from there.
Everton and England, Susie Christiansen watching this game with us some 5-5. Croatia 0, Spain 0 so far. Possession won by Guardiola, who tries to play it forward to Petkovic, and he's taken down, and the referee, Kudit Sakir, wants to have a word with Eric Garcia. It's only Eric Garcia's 10th cap for his country. He didn't play much for Manchester City this past season. Obviously John Stones and Ruben Diaz dominated those central defensive partnership, but he does know Laporte from club level. This is still a big game, you feel, though, for Eric Garcia, and he gave away the free kick there, which Modric has taken quickly. Guardiola to the byline on the left-hand side, cuts it back onto his right foot. Got a bad cross at all, but there's no one at the back post. And it was Jose Gaya who was able to head it away. Spain haven't fully cleared their lines yet. Azpilicueta will do so now. Plays it off Ante Rebic, and that will be a Spanish throw. First time that we've seen Croatia involved in attack in the game.
That's it, and a really, really interesting decision there from Luka Modric. Petkovic has done so well to win that free kick in the final third for Croatia. He's had a look over his shoulder, he's checked where Eric Garcia is, and he's taken the hit. For me, Croatia, the start that they've had, set the ball up and put the ball into the box. Modric opted to take it short, and nothing's come of it.
Another display, no goals, another free kick. Guardiola crunching into Koke. It's a free kick to Spain inside their own half. Croatia have only ever played 2 matches at this Parken Stadium before, both against Denmark. There was a World Cup qualifier ahead of the 1998 World Cup, which they lost by 3-1, and they won a friendly in 2004. This will be the only times that Croatia have played in Denmark. But a huge number of their supporters have made the journey, and although it's not an actual full capacity, it is virtually so. There's a smattering of a few empty seats here and there, but it feels very much a full house in Copenhagen, as it did for the second and third Denmark games that were played in this group. Laporte, we know, has got wonderful distribution, picks out a lovely ball to Guy on the left-hand side. His ball looks for Koke into the penalty area, and Mateo Kovacic tracks that run well, and he clears the ball out of play for a throw into Spain. 0-0.
Already a really strong start from Guy, the left-back for Spain. 2 brilliant balls in so far. Pace, power on the deliveries for that late run from Koke. He's had 2 sort of half chances as a result.
It's an excellent player, Jose Gaya. He's keeping Jordi Alba out of this team. Morata, first time into the penalty area with the ball at his feet. No angle to shoot. Pulls it back, and it's fired into the side netting by Pablo Sarabia. Sarabia has scored in the 5-0 win over Slovakia last time out. This was unselfish from Morata, and it was still a tight angle, and Sarabia hits the side netting, is he?
No, it's an excellent first touch by Morata to take the ball on the move. The angle isn't quite nice enough for him to take the shot. He's done really well to keep possession, and Sarabia, for me, that has to be driven across the goalkeeper for any second balls that are carried into the palm of running on midfielders.
Spain again, they've certainly had the brighter start. Azpilicueta gets to within 5 yards of the penalty area on the right-hand side. Back in field through Koke, Eric Garcia, onto Emerick Laporte, who has pretty much started his game like a midfielder. He is the general who's dictating everything from deep, and he's allowing Busquets push a little bit forward. Koke has possession. The boos and cheers you hear in the background are from the Croatia fans, because their team at the moment cannot get a touch. And another foul by Brozovic, and I'm surprised the referee isn't having more sterner chats with him. That's 3 free kicks he's given away, and all in pretty similar circumstances.
Yeah, 3 late challenges, and it was funny because the one from Eric Garcia early on, Petkovic, the referee had a very strong word with Garcia.
Talking about Jose Gaya earlier on. He's a player who could be on the move this summer. He's been the Valencia club captain, but their owner, Peter Lim, has authorised a wholesale change. I think he's reduced the budget by 40%, he's announced, so they've got to sell players this summer. I'm sure there are many scouts, many clubs who would be very, very interested in Jose Gaya. The performances that he's been putting in for club and country recently. Luis Garcia plays ball boy, and so nonchalant in his white trainers, his stonewashed jeans, his white shirt open at the neck. And if he's trying to convey a man who's very relaxed at the moment, he is succeeding in doing so, the former Barcelona coach. Such a long history with Jordi Alba in the past, but he has chosen Gaia to be the left back for this one. Through ball played by Rebic, but it's too far in front of Petkovic for Croatia. Simon is able to come to the edge of his penalty area. It's still 0-0.
You know, Connor, it's really interesting the choices that Luis Enrique has made in this game at left back, with Gaia coming in for Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba, if he got booked in today's game, he'd miss the next match. And that's a common theme. Rodri's the same, and Pau Torres, who all three have started the previous games for Spain. So I wonder whether that's just a sign of Spain's squad depth.
Well, that's a very good point, and in the back of the mind of so many coaches is what happens next. But here and now, this is a game that has to be won today. One of these teams, either way, is going home tonight, and one of them going through to play either France or Switzerland in the quarterfinal. Here's Koke. First clear cut chance of the game, saved by Livakovic. Koke made a burst into the penalty area. The marking wasn't great. He could see the white of the eyes of the goalkeeper, but Livakovic came out, spread his body wide, and he made the save with his right boot. That is the best clear-cut chance of the game so far.
Should have scored. Should have scored. Easy chance, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. The through ball from Pedri was delightful. He carved open the whole defence with one pass.
Here's the resulting corner. More on Koke in a moment. Sarabia rolls it short for Eric Garcia. Back to Sarabia. Left-footed delivery, and it'll be headed out for corner number 2. The thing about Koke is he's never scored for Spain before. Today he's 54th international. They really would have wanted that chance to fall to someone else.
Well, you could say that, or you could say that he will never get a better chance to score for Spain unless the goalkeeper's not there and it's an open goal. But
corner rolled short into the penalty area. We'll go for an update in Wimbledon in just a moment. In fact, we'll do so now because Croatia have won possession back with Luka Modric. David Lowe, a big shock in Wimbledon.
Huge shock. The third seed, Stefanos Tsitsipas, a runner-up at the French Open a couple of weeks ago, is out. Straight sets defeat to Francis Tiafoe of the United States. 6-4, 6-4, 6-3. Tsitsipas out.
Brilliant, and coverage of that continues from Wimbledon on 5 Live Sports Extra right now. Here on 5 Live, Croatia 0, Spain 0. It's an early part of the game that has been dominated by Spain so far as they win the ball again. A Guardiola pass is intercepted in the midfield. All those little 50-50 challenges, when they've been won fairly, they've been won by Spain. Whenever Croatia got involved, more than likely they give away a free kick. Sarabia has it bang on the halfway line. Rolls it short to the feet of Koke. Spain wearing all white, playing from left to right as we look down on a bright, sunny Monday afternoon at the Parken Stadium in Copenhagen in Denmark. As a through ball is played by Busquets that is behind Pedri, and Croatia might be able to launch a counter-attack here. Rebic has to shrug off the attentions of Azpilicueta. He's done well. Up to Petkovic. Very neat little back heel there. Brozovic now rolls the ball in front of Vlasic to the byline. Right-hand side. A great run had been made by Brozovic to get into the penalty area there, but Vlasic wasn't able to deliver the cross, and Croatia being forced back to the halfway line again. Easy Christensen.
If Vlasic squares the ball first time at the earliest opportunity, Eric Garcia had a tracked his runner, and it was a tap-in for, I think it was Petrovic making that late run into the box. Superb counter-attack though by the Croatians, and that's a little taste for Spain to be even more aware of all this possession they've got. Croatia is still a threat.
Absolutely, there are many ways to skin a cat, and although Spain have dominated the possession, they did that in their opener against Sweden, and they didn't score, despite all the chances they made. Croatia will feel there's been enough promise in these early 18 minutes to suggest on the counter-attack they may be able to catch Spain cold. And this back four, Azpilicueta, Garcia, Laporte and Gaia, they have not played together many times in the past. Busquets rolls the ball back to Eric Garcia. Back to Busquets. Neat triangular tiki-taka passing from Spain as they get it up to Pedri. His ball encourages Ferran Torres to get to the byline. What a delivery that is! What a chance! Morata though couldn't put the header in. He headed it down. Was it onto his feet? Was it onto a defender? It just wasn't a clean attempted goal. He heads it on. It hits the arm of the defender Vida, but his arms were down by his side. The VAR will look at it, Izzy, but I can't see them giving a penalty for that.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, firstly, that play from Spain was just incredible, the way they've moved the ball through the third. Delightful ball in from Ferran Torres. Morata has to score. We were talking about Koke a few moments earlier. Had to score. Morata had to score in that moment. It was just the most perfect crossing from the right-hand side. It's gone over the two centre-half and landed on Morata's head, and it was almost like he miscued it. It was going back across goal, and that's why it hit Vida's arm, but no, his arm was by his side, and not a penalty, but my word, two huge chances for Spain.
Huge. Oh my God! There's a mistake on the goalkeeper! Look! I can't believe this! There is an opening goal for Croatia that has come completely against the run of play. That has come from absolutely nothing. There was a back pass towards the goalkeeper, was it? Unai Simon. There seemed to be no danger at all. He has completely missed the ball here. We'll get to see a replay. A back pass from the halfway line has gone through the goalkeeper. I mentioned earlier the sun perhaps in his eyes, but this is inexcusable. It just bounces in front of him and he completely misses it. It is a howler on the world stage. Unai Simon, the goalkeeper for Spain, calamity befalls him, and one of the most bizarre own goals you will ever see. It's a back pass, not to the edge of the penalty area, is he? Not from 15, 20 yards out. It's from the halfway line. Have you ever seen anything like that in football?
Never.
Croatia, who have hardly had a chance, they lead 1-0 and they come again, is he?
My word, the ball has travelled at least 45 yards. Yes, the ball was bouncing. There is no excuse. The ball was even in the shadows on this pitch. There wasn't even any sunlight on that section of the pitch for the goalkeeper to have the excuse of misseeing the ball, but you will never see a more bizarre own goal than that. And Pedri as well, the young 18-year-old.
Well, it's absolutely not his fault. I mean, you know, sometimes an own goal you might say, oh, you've lashed it back at the goalkeeper, you've hit it at an awkward. I mean, it's the really, it barely got over, trickled over the goal line. There was no power. It has just come towards him, a little bounce in front of him, and for whatever reason, he completely fails to anticipate that bounce. His feet remain on the ground. He just needed to lift his boot up 4 inches. And he left it on the ground, and it's in behind him.
Complete lapse in concentration. I've watched that in slow motion again and looking at his body shape and his reaction, and everything's okay. I just wonder whether the bounce of the ball, which happened about 10 to 15 yards in front of him, the ball is skidded off the surface. I mean, there's no excuse. I'm not trying to defend him here, but he's just completely lapsed in concentration and taken his eye off it at the last second. And the ball, I mean, there was enough pace on it to take it into the back of the net. It was travelled almost, like you say, from the halfway line, but honestly, you will never see a more bizarre own goal, and in such a context where the game has been so one-sided in Spain so far.
Croatia will not believe they are leading this game. Spain will not believe they are behind. 2 gilt-edged opportunities. First for Koke, then for Morata. Heavens knows how they didn't score either of them. And then with one of the most bizarre own goals, not just in European Championship history, of major tournament history. We have seen some corkers over the years, but that was absolutely bizarre beyond belief. A back pass, a soft back pass from the halfway line, somehow managed to squirt beyond the goalkeeper, Livkovic. There was absolutely no reason for that. I mean, I have to say, and I want to choose my words very carefully here, Izzy, because he's a great guy. We've got Rob Green in the studio, and Rob will be the perfect guest to talk about it. He won't want to, but he's the perfect one because, well, he's been on our program earlier on today, and I'm sure he's probably putting his head under the pillow now because he knows everyone's going to want to ask his opinion on this. Rob, who had a mistake for England against USA in the World Cup in 2010, but even that was a shot from the edge of the penalty area from an opponent. I mean, this was a back pass from the halfway line. Absolutely remarkable, and Spain, you can see, are shell-shocked. They started the game so well, they cannot believe how fate has befallen them here, and they trail 1-0. Challenged by Garcia on the edge of the penalty area on Ante Rebic. Referee waves away the protest, but I think we're all just in shock at the nature of this opening goal for Croatia, is it?
I'm in total shock, and Croatia have just gathered inevitably
to hold off Eric Garcia's lunge, and Garcia did just enough to bring him wide, and that meant the ultimate shot was on a stretch, and it went into the side netting. But from being under the cosh, from absolutely bailing out water earlier on, Croatia are now the team on top. Who would have thought it?
I mean, now they've just gathered confidence. Like I was saying, Luka Modric receiving on the half turn, feeding.
What a dangerous driver! Overtaking from the left side, huh?
Challenge there, and
no signal either.
He hits the ball, but it's just, I can't believe how much this game has shifted in momentum. You'll never see a more drastic shift in momentum in a game.
Looking here on my monitor from UEFA, they can't decide yet who they're going to give this own goal to. It's down as an own goal. Clearly the main thrust of it has come from the halfway line from Pedri, but there was a touch on the laces of the goalkeeper's boot on the way through. I wonder if they might even give that as an Unai Simon own goal. It is certainly his error. Pedri will be feeling terrible about the whole thing, but frankly he is the innocent party here, as here come Croatia again. Vlasic is growing into the game wonderfully. Plays the ball into Petkovic. Outside him to the left-hand side, Mateo Kovacic sees the side of goal, shoots, but it's just too high. It fizzes over the crossbar. Croatia are now banging on the door to make it 2-0. As things stand, Croatia are going through to the quarter-final unless Spain can get their act together here.
Another taste of goal for Croatia. The operation now is Pepper Simon in goal. His confidence has hit the bottom of the ocean almost. And you were just saying then, Connor, about listening to Rob Green's views on it at half time, and I want to know what Rob thinks about the fact that this Spanish team, they're so good at taking the ball individually that they're always thinking one or two passes ahead. And I wonder whether the goalkeeper was doing exactly that, and that's why he's taking his eye off the ball.
Very good shout. He wasn't thinking about controlling it. Another cross from Ferran Torres on the right-hand side, and the header goes awry this time from Sarabia, who's arriving from the left. But you're right, he was thinking, I'm not going to play to the fullback, he's going to play it into the mid. What he wasn't thinking is, I've got to look at this ball and make sure I trap it. I mean, the simple things. But, you know, every footballer will have a mistake at some stage, something like this, right? It'll happen. Sometimes the fullback doesn't control, it goes out for a throw-in or something. For this to happen on this stage, knockout rounds of the European Championships, is astoundingly bad luck for Unai Simon. You just wince, don't you? You wince when you look at it.
They need to stop showing replays now because this is getting a little bit too much. That's just been the slowest motion, zoomed in right on the goalkeeper. You can see Luis Enrique is holding a water bottle against his forehead thinking, what on earth has just happened? But
it's the 9th own goal at this tournament. We mentioned earlier on, own goals have been the top scorer for Spain. There hasn't been 9 own goals if you add up all the previous European Championships there's ever been, the finals. There has never been 9 own goals in total. We've had 9 in this one tournament at Euro 2020. But that is one that absolutely will stand alone. You can talk about obscure own goals, you can talk about comedic own goals. That was just incredible. And I think we are going to be discussing it for a long, long time. Koke has been cut by a trailing arm of Koke. Spain are going to get a free kick. Just seeing a replay, and I think Koke's been a little bit sneaky there. It hits him sort of top of his chest, but he's gone down as if he's been struck in the face. Anyway.
Oh dear, what a cloudy weather as we're heading towards M1 or Birmingham, I mean. Very cloudy. I'm just by Luton roundabout and it's very cloudy. And I'm not sure what's going to happen further along.
physically for a hell of a long time. I mean, you look back at it and you just go, how can that happen?
I'm trying to break it down, and I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's thinking 2 passes ahead. You can even tell when you watch it in slow motion that his body shape is like textbook, the way you get told as a young player to open up your body and receive the ball on the back foot. And he's doing all of the right things, and the only thing he hasn't done is focused on where the ball's coming from. And you know what, Connor, I keep thinking, he's had too long to think about receiving the ball. The ball's travelled 45, I'm going to guess 45 yards, I'd love to know the exact yardage, but he's had too long to think about controlling the ball, and I don't know where this stands in the history of own goals, but
it'll be one of the longest range own goals ever. I mean, it has to be. I'm sure people on social media will be digging out. There's always one bizarre example in South America, but you know what I mean. Incredible. Here comes Koke. Tries to play onto Morata. Good strong defending. Chaleta is able to clear it away. The centre half who's in for the suspended Dejan Lovren. Croatia riding their luck, leading Spain by a goal to nil. Spain trying to recapture the rhythm and tempo that they had in the early stages of the match. 30 minutes played. Eric Garcia with the white boots. You know, I always remember as a school kid in football, and you're told if you ever give a back pass, you pass it back wide of the post. And of course that's because your school kids, they might miss something. Here's Morata into the penalty area. Chaleta comes across him. That's going to be the corner. But there was no danger. For a little Pedri, he's done nothing wrong.
no, he hasn't. And you know, as soon as I've seen it, that's the first thing that came into my mind, Connor. As a child, as a young player growing up, don't pass the ball within the width of the goalpost if you're going back to the goalkeeper. But it's all too far.
Make the goalkeeper Here's Sorano's corner. Good header from Brozovic at the front post. That was Bruno Petkovic was back defending on the edge of the 6-yard box. He's pushed in the back by, who's arriving here? Spiliqueta, I think. Anyway, the referee decided that lunge from the Chelsea captain was, you know, it was Brozovic who headed it away, but he was jumping into another standing defender from Spiliqueta that saw him pinned there. And there's a free kick to Croatia, away to our right-hand side. Croatia 1, Spain 0. The first half that is featured the bizarre goal of the tournament so far. But they all count, and one goal could be enough for Croatia here, and it bring them into the last 16. Later on we've got France against Switzerland. Winner of that one will play the winner of this in the quarter-finals. Tomorrow on 5 Live it'll be building up to England against Germany at Wembley. It's the 5 o'clock kick-off, all the build-up from 5 Live breakfast in the morning. Rachel is going to be at David Beckham and Harry Kane's old school, the Chingford Foundation School. She'll be talking to Kane's former coach and now vice principal. Big names on the show as well. Alan Shearer and Jurgen Klinsmann as well. They'll be on together. And of course all the fans view. And it's going to be big. It's England-Germany. It doesn't get much bigger than that. And we will be all over it tomorrow here on 5 Live. Right. 1-0 Croatia. Can they hold on to this lead? Guardiola is closed down by Ferran Torres. Ball goes out of play. Torres, who's been as good as any of the Spaniards so far, the quality of his deliveries have been excellent, and Spain have not been able to put any of those chances into the net.
He has. It's been a trait so far, the way that Spain have played is to find Torres. He looks so sharp, and just watching the way that he passes the ball into Morata inside, he gives it to him on the safe side so that the defender cannot jump in front of him and nick the ball. Such smart play when you're thinking about sort of the fluidity of an attack.
Think of all the debate that goes into picking squads and choosing tactics, and Luis Enrique will think, well, you know, you cannot legislate for this. He's brought in Unai Simon. He could have had he could have had Aretha Balaga. He's gone for Unai Simon, and Unai Simon has just dropped the mistake of his life. He'll play as a goalkeeper for the rest of his life. He'll never make an error like that. He has done it at a terrible time for Luis Enrique. Vida back inside his own penalty area, is pushed to the back. It doesn't matter anyway. Flag was raised. Sarabia had been offside at the start of that move, so it wouldn't have counted. But Vida, who's a real warrior, the Besiktas player, he's played in every match of this tournament so far. The long, fair hair looks a bit like a Viking, and he stood strong to the challenge there. This is the trouble for Spain. You know, tactically, this is exactly what Croatia wanted. Absorb the pressure, nick a goal, rattle Spain, and then do not concede. I mean, it's working perfectly for Zlatko Dalic. He could never have anticipated quite exactly how it his standards, Modric, as his attempted clearance here is closed down by Pedri. Modric, though, never ruffles, you know, even when something doesn't go exactly right, cool as you like, no problem, rectifies it, and eventually does clear the ball away. But by his standards, he's been quiet.
He has, but he knows that a player of his quality, that if he's quiet, there's space elsewhere for somebody else, because he's being marked out of the game, and you can see there that he's just dropped into that right back, what we call full-back position, and he's allowed Juranovic to push on a little bit, just to go and see who's going to come with me if I drop into areas of that midfield that you don't want to follow me into. And he's asking questions of this Spain team, because they're going, well, if you want to man mark me, do so, or I'm going to go and receive the ball. If you don't mark me, I'm going to pick out a pass. So he's so smart. He's been doing this for years. He's still looking as good as it now.
9 minutes to go until the break in Copenhagen. Live for the BBC Euro 2020, the last 16. Croatia leading Spain. Unai Simon's own goal to them. Koke with the Spain corner from the right-hand side. It's first defender, then it comes to Pedri on the edge of the box. Gaia fancies a shot, hits his own teammate, and spins away off target. Azpilicueta, that was one of those, he could have gone anywhere. It goes wide of the target in the end.
Oh, that car was so slow, guys. It's not a car, it's a vehicle for construction vehicle.
Nothing's going their way.
No, they can't. Azpilicueta was actually onside then. How often do we see a recycled set piece, corner, free kick? People are lazy to get back onside for that second phase, but Azpilicueta was actually onside, and I know the ball's travelling fast, but he's more aware. It's free inside the 6-yard box.
It's been the tournament of the long range. Bizarre goals. Patrick Schick, of course, against Scotland. Here's Pedri. Good work to get it out to Ferran Torres, who's on the left wing. Gaia tries to shoot with the goalkeeper in position. They're appealing for a handball. Defender blocks and does it with his arm. Gaia drills it again. Good save. Lost by Sarabia. Spain back to 1-1. Pablo Sarabia. And feel the relief. This has been an agonising 38 minutes for Spain, but they have forced their way back level, and the way he hit that, he nearly lifted the net off the ground. Sarabia unleashes some Spanish anger. They can't believe they've been 1-0 down in this. Now they are back to 1-1.
Big goal at a big time. I was originally thinking on that first phase of the attack, what is Linkovic doing, the Croatian goalkeeper? He's gone out of the ball gone out for a ball which is so far out of his territory. He's ended up making another save, and it's parried out to Sarabia, who's just drilled it. And just looking at the replay, Linkovic has even got a touch on it.
He did, he's hit his head on the way through. Now, the VAR are doing a goal check, but I imagine, and I'm not sure because a lot happened there, was pinball in the penalty area. Morata may have been in an offside position as that final shot was taken, but he wasn't in the view of the goalkeeper. So if it is that, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Check over, goal stand. The goalkeeper did make 2 saves in the build-up, but he didn't push it away from dangerous, as he says. Croatia 1, Spain 1. Feel the relief for Spain. It's the first thing that's really gone their way in this game so far.
Yeah, and I mean, for all of their dominance so far in this game, they do deserve it.
Here come Croatia again. It's going to be a barnstorming match now. Petkovic to the edge of the penalty area. Beats it to the left-hand side. Rebic's first touch is poor. Sun might have been in his eyes. The flag was raised anyway. It wouldn't have counted. Ante Rebic, the Milan player, and worked his way into an offside position. Croatia 1, Spain 1. Own goal by the Spain goalkeeper, Unai Simon. And then good strike by Sarabia, who also scored against Slovakia last time out. And it's his 3rd international goal in total. He's had a lot of good press in Spain this week. They feel that bringing him into the team has really been the thing that has kick-started Spain back into the tournament. I'm sure that hype will only grow now that he's got his name on the team sheet, score sheet, and he's got his feet on the ball now as Sarabia cuts in off the wing on the right-hand side and floats a crossfield ball to Torres. They've switched the wingers. Sarabia off the right now, Torres off the left. Torres cross into the penalty area is headed away by Joško Guardiol, the left back from Dinamo Zagreb. Now foul on Eric Garcia. Free kick to Spain, midway inside the Croatia have. Sarabia is having some tournament now. He's been involved in 3 goals between goals and assists. They come again. Aspilicueta to the byline right-hand side, sends in a low cross. Pedri burst into the penalty area, but Croatia get it away. 5 minutes to go until the break, and this one could still go either way on 5 Live from Denmark. Here is Emerick Laporte. Spain are back on level terms. They've got their feet back on dry land because boy were they swimming around a lot after that extremely bizarre own goal after 20 minutes of this game. And now Croatia, having been a flurry of activity at 1-0 up, they've fallen back into that defensive routine that they were adopting in the early stages when it was still 0-0. Here's Sarabia down the right hand side again. Good defending by Guardiola. Makes the block on the cross, puts it out for a corner. Izzy Christensen.
You know what? This game is superb. I know that the own goal is so out of the blue, but I mean, player for player on this pitch now, it's so entertaining. You've got so much quality. You've got players cancelling each other out. You've got attacks. Croatia look like they're going to score off every attack.
Technically, it's been so good, and that's the bizarre nature of the own goal being an absolute technical nightmare. I mean, everything else, the first touch, I mean, nobody else has put a foot wrong in terms of technique. And poor old Unai Simon with a howler for that opening goal of the game.
Oh, I can see big stores of a big building which says Amazon and H&M. Maybe this is their store or warehouse. I think this is their warehouses actually. And we can see a lot of, says Amazon Prime, blue colored building or cars with Amazon Prime, just Prime it says. Well, Amazon Prime. I think this is the place where they shift their goods from, Amazon and H&M. It's massive store, massive building.
Done well to keep the ball down. I mean, yourself as a midfielder, when a ball drops like that on the edge of the box, it's a dream. Koke, technically gifted player.
Vlasic back to the centre circle. To Marcelo Brozovic. Now Luka Modric with the bright yellow captain's armband. Koke crunches in and fouls Kovacic. And now it's got to be a free kick to Croatia, which they take quickly. Domagoj Vida, central defender, arms outstretched, urging someone to come short for him, which Nikola Vlasic does. They'll attack down the right-hand side, Croatia. Juranovic steadies himself, delivers a really good ball in, but bounces once, and Unai Simon holds his nerve, makes the save. Croatia got a few bodies into the penalty area there, but the goalkeeper didn't.
They did, and much better from Croatia finding that earlier cross. Juranovic has just put it into that sort of corridor in between the centre halves and the goalkeeper, and you know what, I'm going to give Unai Simon a little bit of credit here. It's not nice when the ball bounces in like that with such pace, but he's done well to hold it.
Winner of this game goes through to play the quarter-final in St. Petersburg on Friday against either France or Switzerland. 1-1 for the moment. Alvaro Morata, edge of the penalty area, left-hand side, delivers a left-footed cross. Chalata-Char came off his knee, I think, straight up into the air. Guardiola's clearance does clear the penalty area. Brozovic does some mopping up, and then it comes back to Guardiola, and they're making quite hard work of this Croatia. They do give away the ball inside their own half. Better from Spain, who have clearly caught a second wind as he sits that equalising goal.
Yeah, they have, and the main threat is coming from...
Exit to Buckinghamshire, Milton Keynes 509. The road is 509. We're just passing Buckinghamshire exit.
infection, and we know that even after 2 doses, you can catch and transmit the virus. So what is he going to do to push infections down?
Another 3,285 cases of COVID-19 have been recorded in Scotland. That sets a new record. Nearly 13% of those tested for the virus were positive, but no deaths were recorded. A huge fire in South London is now under control. At its height, 100 firefighters were working to put it out. It broke out near the railway station in Elephant and Castle. The smoke could be seen for miles. And Nissan's expanding battery production at its factory in Sunderland, creating thousands of new jobs there and in the supply chain. The government will meet some of the cost, but exactly how much isn't being disclosed.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Listen live on digital, online, smart speaker, or the BBC Sounds app.
Quick look at travel news. The M6 in Greater Manchester, northbound at junction 25 at Bryn. There's a broken down car, one lane closed, and that's causing delays of about 40 minutes back past junction 22, Newton the Willows. The A49 Newton Road also very busy. In York, the A64 westbound is closed between the Grimston Bar interchange and Fulford. Also the A500D road heading south in Stoke-on-Trent at Port Hill Bank. There's an accident there that means that road is currently closed. And the A1 in Hertfordshire at junction 1, the M25 junction 23, there's an accident on the roundabout there, so it's partially blocked and that's causing some long delays. Michelle Dignan, 5 Live Travel.
The ultimate Glastonbury experience. 100,000 people were screaming.
Waiting for the sun to come up at a stone's throw of guns.
Everyone is smiling. It was bliss. Get that Glastonbury feeling with classic festival moments, new performances and more. The Glastonbury experience. Stream on BBC iPlayer. Listen on BBC Sounds.
The wait is over.
Euro 2020 with Emma Saunders
on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Half-time then in Copenhagen, it's Croatia 1, Spain 1, a howler of an own goal from Spain, a bit of a misplaced or miskicked back pass to Simon, the goalkeeper, to open the scoring. That before Cereba got the Spanish out of trouble to see them tied at the break. Coming up a little bit later on 5 Live, we do have a commentary of the round of 16 match between France and Switzerland in Bucharest. And we'll also be hearing from England boss Gareth Southgate ahead of his team's match against Germany tomorrow evening. But right now, let's head to SW19 and get the latest from day 1 at Wimbledon with Tony Lissy.
Emma, thank you very much indeed. Yes, well, we were told it was going to be different this time around. We knew it would be different, but where I am at the moment, I'm on the top of the broadcast centre. All the courts are in action. There are people on Henman Hill, and we've had some shocks. Russell Fuller, our tennis correspondent, has been enjoying day 1 with me. Russell, we'll go into the changes very shortly, and indeed, the seeds falling. Let's just talk about that astonishing moment that me and you witnessed, along with a lot of other people, when Centre Court first reopened and they announced who was in the Royal Box. Wimbledon's will come and go, but what an amazing moment that was.
It was a very special moment, wasn't it, Tony? This fortnight has been dedicated by the All England Club to saying thank you to those who've gone above and beyond the call of duty during the COVID pandemic. And today in the Royal Box there were principally people who helped with the development of the vaccine, as well as those engaged in critical care. There were some community workers there. There was the daughter of Captain Sir Tom Moore, Hannah, was here, and there was a standing ovation. It started off as warm applause when they were introduced. A few people took to their feet, and then everybody took to their feet, and there were a lot of people welling up inside Centre Court, 7,500 people making a lot of noise. And then we had Jack Draper leading Novak Djokovic onto court for the first match on Centre Court, and that was the ovation of Draper's life, certainly, as he led the champion out.
And he put up a fair show, didn't he, Draper, winning the first set. I mean, he's gone ultimately to the world number 1, but, you know, Britain has a new hero.
One to watch, certainly. 19 years of age, 253 in the world. He knows that the hard work continues now as he heads out to play perhaps in North America on the Challenger Tour. It's not going to be quite so glamorous there, but he's fully aware of that, and he played really well. How many sets will Novak Djokovic lose this fortnight, I wonder? Well, Jack Draper took one off him by taking that first set. Djokovic very good, serving and volleying very nicely, ultimately winning in 4.
And I mentioned that the seeds were falling already. Tsitsipas has gone for the men's draw, and Petra Kvitova is out of the ladies' singles as well.
Yes, Petra Kvitova, who had an ankle injury that she developed as she left a television studio at Roland Garros, beaten by Sloane Stephens, another Grand Slam champion, 6-3, 6-4. And Tsitsipas, the third seed, French Open runner-up, beaten in straight sets by Francis Tiafoe. I think just too quick a turnaround for him. Just 15 days after being 2 sets to love up against Novak Djokovic in the French Open final. And of the British players, Katie Boulter on court at the moment against Danielle Lau, Tony, and they're into a deciding set with Lau now leading by 3 games to 1. We're still hoping and waiting for the first British winner of the afternoon.
Russell, thank you very much indeed. Emma, there you have it. So it's a slightly different Wimbledon. Obvious changes. There are no autographs at the end of each match, no clamour to get the tennis balls waved in the player spaces, no scrum as they leave court. And also, just on the way up here, there was a coach parked outside Wimbledon. So what's happening there? The players, the lesser players, shall we say, that the top players get their own car, but the lesser players were all being herded onto the coach, taken back to a hotel in central London for their bubble, a bit like a school trip. I suspect the players won't be as happy as the crowd today, because as far as anyone lucky enough to be at Wimbledon is concerned, it's business as usual.
Yeah, sign of the times. And actually, it looks to be almost business as usual in Copenhagen. There's thousands and thousands of fans inside the stadium there. The players are just emerging from the tunnel, but I think we've got just enough time to bring...
This is Punjab Radio. News on
this.
Center at 6. The new health secretary is giving him... Restrictions won't...
no date we choose. Zero risk for COVID.
No, we can't. God is our side. I don't think God loves football, certainly hasn't been helping us today. But I told you, so it's a prone to mistakes when I see one. I was listening to another Spanish radio that you wouldn't have been able to use that clip. I'm telling you, the words were not for this time of the day. But at the same time, if you look back to the previous 25 minutes, you think, okay, we've got a mistake, we can come back. But it took 20 minutes for the commentators, people like me, and the players to react. We were dead to the ground, we just could not believe it.
Well, you buckle up, Guillaume, because we've still got another 45 minutes of this to go. Guillaume Balaguer with us. And actually, Izzy Christensen, I think you did well there to keep your composure. I did hear an audible gasp when we saw the replay from behind the goal, and we saw just how bad it was. But likewise, the same words for you. We're only halfway there. I think there's still plenty more where that came from. So with that, I'll hand it back to you and Conor McNamara.
I love hearing the Spanish commentary, because normally they just go rat-tat-tat and you don't get, they don't breathe for several days. A little moment's silence, they just couldn't believe it. It was such a bizarre own goal, but you know what my prediction is, Izzy? I bet you, because this is football and redemption is always possible, they seem on to be penalty shootout hero for Spain, and nobody will ever remember the mistake again if he does that.
That would be a scenario and a half, wouldn't it? I mean, that would mean extra time and another 30 minutes of the way that the first half's gone. I'm all for that.
You would take that for sure. Pedri's own goal, 49.4 yards up to have measured at. The longest ever own goal netted in the European Championship. And it's the first time at a Euros finals that there's ever been an own goal scored from outside the box. Right, that is the goal that Croatia scored. Sarabia made it 1-0. There is a change in personnel for Croatia at the start of the second half, and Andrej Kramaric is going to come on, the Hoffenheim player, briefly at Leicester in the past. He played in all 3 of the group games. He has come on just to give a different presence in attack for Croatia. In the first half in which they set out absorbing pressure, they nicked the goal completely against the run of play, and it's a straight swap here. Bruno Petkovic will be playing as the centre forward off Andrej Kramaric on in his place. Kramaric, who scored against Spain the last time these sides met. It was a Nations League game in 2018.
Still 19 degrees in London, quite nice. Leeds raining, 16 degrees. Edinburgh 17 degrees. Manchester 17 degrees. And in Croydon right now, 21 degrees.
The weather update on Sunrise, brought to you by the Sunrise Radio app.
Family have petrol protecting you. Well, the capital.
But a little bit more. That's what gets into summer.
This summer for the Spain. They're not taking any prisoners, these Croatian players. They've given away a lot of free kicks, but we haven't had any yellow cards in the game, is it?
No, and that's a real surprise so far with the amount of late challenges that we saw from Brozovic and Kovacic in the first half. The referee, I think, in all fairness, he's let the game flow, which I think is what's contributed to the fact that it's thoroughly entertaining. And I think sometimes when you've got midfielders who are so technically good on both teams at receiving the ball in tight areas, it does draw fouls, and sometimes it's the only way to stop each other playing.
Now again, Koke and Sarah stand over it. Koke takes it, right footed, flopped it into the penalty area. Vida jumps highest. His header though goes flag on the right hand side. Holding a line along the edge. However, Brozovic in turn returns possession to Spain. Busquets is relieved there because that could have been a counter-attack in Spain and very thin in the back.
Putting congestion to
Again. Ascola. Koke on the right wing, back into Sarabia, who started the game on the left-hand side, but before half-time it switched to the right, and that's where he's begun the second period. Chance to look up, rolls it low, to the feet of Pedri, the teenager who's been deemed to have scored the own goal in the first half. That's a lovely ball. Gaya's got room on the left. He will steady himself, plays it in towards the foot post. Morata lunged at it, couldn't get a touch, and a chance of a counter-attack as Croatia come over the halfway line. Vlasic though with a heavy touch, and that allows Emerick Laporte to sweep across and put it out for a throw-in. But this high-tempo nature of the game continues, Izzy Christensen.
It does. It's just started how the first half ended. It's exciting. Croatia just showing early on there that they're a threat on the counter-attack. Really, really smart play dealing with the counter-press from Spain and getting out of tight areas and proving that they're a threat, and the Ports have to sweep up again.
1-1 for now. France against Switzerland to come from Bucharest at 8 p.m. live here on 5 Live. You can follow all the action on the Daily Euros podcast. Don't forget to download and subscribe to BBC Sounds, the biggest news, debate, the reaction throughout the tournament. You can find that on BBC Sounds or indeed wherever you normally get your podcast. But there'll be a big episode tomorrow building up to England against Germany, 5 p.m. kickoff on 5 Live tomorrow. It's not the only show in town, but it will feel like it. Sweden against Ukraine is at hand. That's the 8 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night. Once England-Germany has come to a halt. To know about you, Izzy, I think penalties. As a neutral Irishman, I would very much enjoy England-Germany penalties at Wembley. What do you reckon?
I'm not too sure I'm ready for that, but you know what? You've just reminded me that England play Germany tomorrow after that own goal. I'd completely forgotten about it.
Spain here, speaking of penalties, this week is the anniversary of England beating Spain on spot kicks at Euro 96. Remember the famous celebration of Stuart Pearce, who had missed a penalty at Italia 90?
Oh, there's a vehicle carrying something, it says, and another vehicle following it. It says abnormal load vehicle escorting an abnormal vehicle. Oh, I don't know what it is. Why is it overloaded in the first place?
See the coach Luis Enrique coming up behind them, and he was very much drilling them up, and you can see, he was saying, come on, rise and let's go. And it'll be interesting to see if they can front of the Croatian number 9. And it runs through to Unai Simon, way to our right-hand side. Croatia, it's like slow, quick, slow. You know, they almost lull you into thinking they've switched off, but boy, can they transition quickly. They get the ball and bang, they're bearing down in the Spanish penalty area. There's Eric Garcia just on the edge of that box. Rolling it to Morata, who again is dropping deep repeatedly here. Here's Chiletichar comes with him there, kicks into the ankles again, and he'll be spoken to by the referee. Could execute. There's been a lot of fouls from Croatian defenders and midfielders. Still no cards shown, but I think somebody is going to get one soon, and it mightn't be that foul was particularly the worst one, but just the cumulative effect of the number of fouls given away by Croatia in this game so far.
Chiletichar just there saying as a centre-half, if the centre-forward wants to drop that far and get on the ball in Morata there, he's going to go with him, and he's basically saying to him, wherever you go, I'm going, and I'm not afraid at all to leave one on you.
Croatia almost had 3 times as many fouls as Spain in the games. Oh my word, Chiletichar came through the back of Morata there. He didn't make any connection with him, but it felt reckless at the time. The referee wants the ball. Now, is he saying that it's soft? Let's see now. He is calling for the ball and he's pinching his hands together. And I think this is due to the inflation level of the ball. You need one that is fully pumped up, and that is going to be changed there. But play was just held up as Spain tried to attack, and I don't think they're too delighted about the timing of that. But obviously one of the players has said to the referee that the ball needs to be replaced. I think UEFA, how many balls have they got? They can't find one to bring onto the pitch immediately. But it gives a little bit of a pause, and Luis Enrique and Zlatko Dalic can bellow on some instructions to their players. 10 minutes played now, is he, in the second half, and the closer this goes to the 90 minutes, the more nervy and edgy it is going to become at 1-1.
It is, and I don't know whether the air pressure inside the ball there took the referee's attention away from the second late challenge in a few seconds from Chiletichar there on Morata.
Pedri's cross to the ball, brilliant for Sarabia, and it is Chiletichar who clears it away from the edge of the 6-yard box. I mean, he flew it, he slid on the ground, he must have, goal celebration, the guy slide on the turf. He must have gone 10 metres on the ground there, Chiletichar, as he flew through it. He didn't catch Morata, but I'm actually surprised the referee didn't bring it back for reckless play. To be fair to him, he's been consistent. He's let a lot go today. He's allowed the game to flow. Here's Brozovic to the halfway line in the teal turquoise-coloured boots. Busquets tries to wrestle the ball off him. They've gone out to play first, and it's going to be a throw-in to Spain, bang on the halfway line. Croatia 1, Spain 1 for now. Throw-in for Spain. Gaia. Busquets seems more prominent in this second half. He's seen more of the ball. The veteran of Barcelona, 125th cap today, the most experienced player in the squad. Is that the most experienced player internationally on the pitch? Some way to catch Luka Modric. Modric today, 142nd cap, which is some going. Here comes Azpilicueta, the Chelsea player, to Spain. He's got Pedri to his left-hand side. Great burst by Pedri. Acceleration to get into the penalty area. Now he needs support. Ferran Torres on the left-hand side. Must be! And the header comes! And it's the first ever international goal for Cesar Azpilicueta. The right back from close range gives Spain the lead for the first time in this last 16 game in Copenhagen. Croatia 1, Spain 2. Morata has been wasteful. Koke has been wasteful. But the right back, Cesar Azpilicueta, takes his moment and Spain have the lead.
Hello guys, I can see the sign of Birmingham M6 and all this, which says Hinkley Rugby Creek. I'm just by the creek roundabout, rugby roundabout. Thank you.
Goal, the way they built the ball down that left-hand side.
Well, they're certainly not doing it the easy way, but as things stand, it will be Spain going to St. Petersburg, the Euro 2020 quarter-final. There is still over half an hour to play. Boy, they've done it the hard way. A ridiculous own goal in the first half. Back to 1-1 by half-time. Now, with just over 10 minutes played in the second period, Spain have their noses in front on his 27th cap. What timing from Cesar Azpilicueta to get his first international goal for Spain. Here come Croatia, quickly taking free kick. Juranovic sprinting down the right wing, but it takes a kick off the turf, propels away from him, and that's going to go out harmlessly for a goal kick to Spain. Yet easy, but this is much better now for the Spaniards.
It is, yeah, and I think, Azpilicueta, he started that move off. From the Croatians, it was too easy in midfield. Brozovic was isolated, a 2v1. Azpilicueta's driven inside. Pedri's just been so smart at such a young age to hold the space. Azpilicueta kind of fooled Brozovic into thinking he's going to pass it. He doesn't. He sells him. Pedri then gets the ball, drives out, feeds Ferran Torres, and Azpilicueta, the guy that started the move off, he finishes it, and such a good team goal, so much quality.
Azpilicueta has been getting forward, sort of like that Joe Cancelo position that Pep Guardiola had for Manchester City this season, a fullback who can become a midfielder when necessary. Is he praised the crossing of Ferran Torres in the first half, and no surprise that he's the guy supporting providing the assist.
Yeah, and he's had so much joy in the first half on this right-hand side, and that goal came from the left, just showing how unpredictable and versatile he is, and he's just put the ball into such a dangerous area with such a good weight.
Pedri's just sent another back pass to AC Vargas, given the context of what's happened today. He didn't put it wide of the post either, but lightning does not strike twice. If you missed our cover in the first half, Pedri, his name is going to go down in the history books for the own goal. But it was a back pass from the halfway line, which inexplicably goalkeeper Unai Simon outset just above his toe and into the back of the net. Spain, though, have recovered from striking that particular iceberg. They now lead by 2 goals to 1. Sarabia and Azpilicueta. Spain will take a while to get going. They had such an extremely sluggish start to Euro 2020. It took them until their third group game to get their first victory. That was comprehensive, 5-0 against Slovakia on Wednesday. Now they've scored 2 goals today, and the European champions of 2008, 2012, and of course World Cup winners in 2010, they have the pedigree, they have the caliber. Can they be peaking after what was such a slow start? What might be just the right time? Croatia won, Spain 2 for now. They should try to play the way of their own.
Yes, guys, I've just turned left into M6 from M1 and to my destination. It shows another 39 miles and 46 minutes. Thank you very much. I'm in M6 now. It's a lovely road. It's a lovely motorway I'm in. And a lovely route. But the M1 was not that good looking anyway, because it's so much roadworks. It's just destroyed the geography. But M6 is okay. It's looking so beautiful. Passing through Rugby, it just says Rugby, and the sign says Warwickshire, the hometown of William Shakespeare. It says Warwickshire, Shakespeare County. That's where the famous writer William Shakespeare was from.
from the red, taking off the right back, Ivanovic off, going forward. Croatia, this is going to be a big finale. Still over quarter of an hour to go. Croatia on the black, straight in wide. Good work in the midfield from Cookie to win possession. But immediately it's won back again for Croatia. Down goes Kovacic. Look at his head. Fairly backheels into a team. That was absolutely brilliant. Chance to attack. Orsic into the penalty area on the left-hand side. His delivery is cleared away by Emerick Laporte. Porte, Azpilicueta, Pau Torres and Gaia. They are now the back four for Spain, trying to hold on to this 2-1 lead. But there has been an influx of attacking players now with Hammerich, Orsic and Brekalo all coming on for Croatia. And they need a goal, otherwise they are going home tonight.
Hello guys, the same radio station in London becomes BBC Radio Asia in Birmingham area.
To just watch because the back pass wasn't very good at all. Obviously, yeah, it was outside the width of the goal, but his first touch was bizarre.
We're not going to get something in one game, sure.
No, surely not.
Rocks up with her co-host, the one and only Ed Sheeran from 7 Guangzhou. 88291, should we do it? Let's do it. Yeah.
With Sarah Cox.
It counts to hold mystical.
Looking at it, sorry to interrupt you, see, I mean, the thing I did wonder at the time, and I think he's okay on this, is might Torres have handled it as he playing with his stomach, his hands are by his side, VAR just checking everything, and the game has not restarted yet, but it would appear that Manchester City's Ferran Torres has taken a goal very well indeed. Spain have got a 3-1 lead, but that is to be confirmed. Gaia is not fit enough to continue. Jordi Alba, the experienced Barcelona left back, comes on. In these circumstances, that is a nice option to have. 3-1 to Spain. They come from 1-0 down.
just avoided the M6 toll. Anyway, my navigation is not taking me through the toll anyway, so I just avoided paying some money for M6 toll. Thank you. Yes, guys, hello. I'm in Walsall now, and well, I'm just 1.6 miles from my destination. From my driving, I'm sure you can realize I'm quite a safe driver. I don't mean to brag about myself, but I'm quite, or very in fact, safe driver. I try to avoid dangerous driving and also dangerous driving from others as well. So I always keep apart. You must have seen some scenes, well, some incidents where I tried to avoid, although I'm not sure whether it was very clear from the camera I'm recording, because it's just a mobile phone. So I'm sure it was quite adventurous driving, and thank you for being with me. And thank you for watching. What I'm gonna do next is that I'm gonna go out before I end the live video, live recording on a mobile phone, or to be precise, continuous recording from my mobile phone, so that if there's any dispute later on about who the owner is or something. So I'm gonna show you my face when I go out without ending the video. So if someone copies it, they have to delete the part I'm waving at you, and then again I'm gonna dispute by showing my face on this continuous recording of the great M1 travel, the movie M1 the movie. That's what I'm calling M1 the movie. Thank you. I'm just passing through a Sikh temple. It's a beautiful building that's in Walsall. It's a Sikh Gurdwara. They call it Gurdwara. I'm just 120 or 0.1 mile from my destination, and showing 500 feet now. My destination is a little bit further away, but I'm just gonna go out and show you my face so that I can stop the recording in few minutes, because if I go further on there might not be any more parking space. Oh, hardly any parking spaces around here.